Hello, my name is Carmen. I'm a Twitch VTuber and I'm also a book lover. I read horror, dark fiction, and mystery. As always, I'm open to suggestions, so please post your recommendations in the comments. This week, I finished up reading two books, the first of which is Vanishing World by Sayaka Murata. This was translated by Ginny Tapley Takamori. I originally read Earthlings by this author. These books are translated from Japanese. I originally read Earthlings by this author, and I love that book. This was one of my favorite books of 2025. If you haven't seen my yearly wrap up video, I'll post that in the comments. This author does some odd things. Some people either love it or hate it. I loved Earthlings. I kind of got where the author was going with it. With Vanishing World, I did get this book from my local library. In Vanishing World, Amani is living in Japan where artificial insemination has replaced the traditional way of having children. I'm going to kind of cryptically say that because I don't know what YouTube will get onto me about and what it won't. So, the traditional way of having children has been replaced with artificial insemination. But Amani's mother has told her that she was conceived the traditional way. Her mom also tries to instill in her some of the old romantic notions that you see in books, movies. It's definitely a genre here on YouTube. And Amani, as everyone else thinks too, thinks this is outdated and gross. She doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't want to be around her mother. Her mother is really trying to push that romantic love onto her thinking as well. Amani instead forms romantic attachments to anime characters, and she doesn't feel like she can fall in love with real people. And then Amani becomes an adult, she marries a man and they have a marriage that is considered normal in this new culture. They date outside of the marriage, but their marriage is more like a family arrangement. They're working towards having a family of their own, having children, and it's more like an arrangement. They soon go to an experimental city where both men and women are able to carry children. They have some way of creating an artificial womb for men to be able to carry children. And there's also like a lottery system where they're chosen to have children, and the children are born, but they don't go to live with their parents. They're more raised in a collective society where they're taken care of by the whole community. I should give you some trigger warnings about this book. There really isn't any romantic spice per se. The intimacy is described. There are some scenes of that, but it's kind of in a mechanical way. Like you're just doing that for the purpose of the mechanism of it to satisfy a need, but it's not in any way like a romance novel would describe an intimate moment. There are descriptions of male and female parts in this book, and unfortunately, descriptions of bodily fluids. It was just not romanticized or beautified in any way. This book was very polarizing to a lot of people. I did see reviews online about it. A lot of people found it weird. I can understand that. This author does take a look at some of these notions about society in a very different way. I really liked the questions that this book was asking about how we idolize characters on TV. You definitely see that a lot on YouTube, Instagram, that people just take a character that they see on TV very seriously as if this person is a living being. And then also it asks the questions about what is normal in marriage and family. And we do see that a lot of times this is dictated by what's online, either like a trad family or a family that with two working parents or a stay-at-home parent or just the different types of family. A lot of times it is either normalized or stigmatized by opinions of people online. And then also, what is romance? What is romance? Like, we a lot of times take those things from media, from movies, from books, from anything, and we consider that this is normal romance. Also, what are the gender roles in a relationship? That has changed over time where women were stay-at-home wives. They didn't go out and get jobs, they just raised children. Now we're seeing this, going to the two parent income and raising children. But then we also see another niche of stay-at-home parents. And then there's another niche of having the trad wife that's been shown online as well. So it's what is normal in a marriage, and also what is the community role in raising a family. That's changed over time too, where I grew up in a Mexican family, and so the whole family was involved in raising children, and also in some of the smaller communities of the whole community helped. The kids were running around in the neighborhood. I was one of those running around in the neighborhood, and the neighbors and everybody else was keeping track of the children as well, where we do see that has shifted a lot. Kids don't go outside as much. They're mostly inside, and families are working. There's two parents that are working, and who's raising those children. So there's a lot of these questions that are in the book, and I do appreciate that. The description of the way that it's presented is a little bit different. I don't mind it myself, but I can see where some people do find this book weird. I didn't, but the book was really shaping up to be a 5-star read for me, but the end of it was just really abrupt. And the book is short. It's not a very long book, but the ending was very abrupt. And then there's something that happens at the end of the book that really killed it for me. I'm not going to give away what it is, but it was really, really disturbing at the end of the book, and that dropped my rating. I was gonna give this 5 stars, but I say 3. It was really 3 stars for me because of what happened at the end. I think it was very unnecessary. It didn't need to be there. I understood it up until that part. Next, I listened to an audiobook called Wolfworm by T. Kingfisher. This was an advanced reader copy from Macmillan Audio through NetGalley. The book is set in 1899. In this book, Sonia Wilson goes to a manor house of a scientist named Dr. Halder. She is there to be his illustrator. He is a scientist, and he's writing a book about certain insects. She was previously an illustrator for her father, but he has passed away. She's unmarried, so it's important that she finds a way to support herself. Of course, there weren't a lot of options for women back in that time. Fortunately, she does have the experience of being an illustrator for her father. When Sonia gets to the manor, she realizes she's not the first illustrator to work for the doctor, and there is a mystery about what happened to the previous illustrator. There's also strange things happening with the animals on the property. There's animals disappearing, there's animals acting strangely. It starts to ramp up from there. I do love how T. Fisher writes women in stories. I've read a few books from this author, The Twisted Ones and A House with Good Bones. This book also has a great female protagonist. We all have our insecurities and worries, and this author writes that well. While the protagonist does have these insecurities, they also stand up for themselves. It's not the self-deprecating, I hope somebody saves me. The female characters in the books always find a way to stand up for themselves. They aren't just the damsel in distress. Trigger warning, T. Kingfisher often writes about plants and bugs. If you're squeamish about bugs, just know there are a lot of bugs in this book, and they're parasitic bugs at that. And that parasitic activity is described. So just go in knowing that. I love the creepy gothic vibe of this novel. It certainly has that component of isolation. There's also the fact that the main character is poor and a woman, and she can't just pack up her stuff and leave. I did love the side characters. There is the doctor's housekeeper. She's a spitfire. I would recommend this book to fans of T. Kingfisher and the Southern Gothic horror. I gave this book 4 stars. It was very, very fun, enjoyable. Thank you so much for watching my review of Vanishing World and Wolfworm. Coming up this week, my choice for middle grade March kind of went off the rails just a bit, but in a good way. A few weeks ago, I had signed up for a few advanced reader copies of middle grade books in anticipation of middle grade March. I was given 2 advanced reader copies that just came in, but I still hope to get to my original picks of some of the Five Nights at Freddy's books as well. We'll see how that wraps up and what I have time for. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to my channel to be notified of my upcoming videos. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.